What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of MMA Now. I'm your host, Nico Pierce. Thank you for joining us again. If your first time listening, thank you for listening. This is going to be a little bit, probably not brief. We're just going to go over some of the fights. A couple days late on what I was predicting for episode 2. Unfortunately, I had a family emergency. I had to fly out to Florida. So I actually missed the first fight card of the year. I was able to luckily catch the Max Holloway Calvin Kattar fight. Bananas, man. Max Holloway's on a whole nother level. And I was telling you guys, I was like, Max Holloway, he's looked really impressive. He's got 3 losses out of his last 4 fights going into this fight. And, Alexander Volkanovski, they're going to be fighting for a third time if he can get past Aljamain Sterling. Because, most people, well, first of all, Max, he's the number 1 contender for sure. For sure. And, most people had, or a lot of people had Max beating Alexander in the second fight. It was a split decision. I'm going to go with some of those critics that say Max won that fight. And, then that was the rematch, obviously, and then fight before that was Frankie, and then fight before that was, against Dustin, who's fighting this weekend for the interim belt while Khabib was suspended / it was Ramadan. Max not fire, man. He looked good. I don't know if you guys saw the fight. Hopefully you did. Because there was a point in the fight where Max is talking to the commentary team as he's fighting Calvin. And he's yelling things out like, I'm the best boxer in the UFC. And, he does that. He's like, bah, bah, bah. He dodges punches as he's not even looking at Calvin. And he's dodging these punches and he's talking to the commentary team at the same exact time. It's crazy. And statistically, no one's ever put up that many strikes against someone, landed those many significant strikes. Max is a whole nother level. He beat the previous record before that was Max's own performance against Brian Ortega about 2 years ago. Something like that, 2.5 years ago. So Max overall has the UFC record for the most significant strikes. Career-wise, currently, with about 2,700. And second behind that is Joanna. And she has, I think it's 1,700. So Max is a whole nother level. No one lands more strikes than Max. I hope you guys get a chance to see it. I don't know if you guys are like me and you have ESPN Plus, all these things. I put that fight on when I was on the treadmill at the gym, mask on, of course. When I put that fight on, that shit just get you so amped. Then besides that, going back off that card, Carlos looked pretty good. It was a close fight against Matt Brown. Matt Brown claims he won the fight. There's an argument for that. It's tough. It is what it is. Matt has lost a few of his, a couple of his last fight by knockout. So, Carlos going to hit hard. So it's good to see that Matt Brown did not lose by knockout again. At least they went the distance. Carlos is on a 2-fight win streak, but he's up there in age, so we'll see what happens, I'm going to see how many more fights he's got left in him. I should probably pull up the results. I want to be professional. I have my notes up. Yeah, so Li Zhenglang knocked out Santiago Ponzinibbio. Upset right there. It was an upset before that. Joaquin Buckley got head kicked. He lost. I had a lot of hope for Buckley going into this fight. He looked pretty good last year. His only loss was against Kevin Holland. We'll see. He's won 3 out of his last 5, if I am correct. We'll see. We'll see what he does to take everything to the next step. Or if he, he's young. He's only 26. So hopefully he can find out what he needs to do, take it up to the next step. And he isn't one of those 500 fighters, in the UFC. Hopefully he can figure it out, get back on track. head kicks are nasty. So outside of that, not a whole lot. Every fight in the prelim went to decision. There's a TKO on top of those 2 knockouts. So in the main card, but overall some good fights, especially if you guys try to watch everything. From of course, obviously from what I've heard, I gotta catch those fights. But this morning I did able to catch the second fight of the first fight week, which was UFC and ESPN. It was Michael Chiesa and Magny. And I got up. I made sure to start watching those fights at 6 a.m. And so we're not gonna go over every fight, just some of the highlights. So the first fight was Manon Fiorot. Looked fantastic. She made her UFC debut in 2020. She went 4-0, obviously outside of the UFC. But she took that confidence that she got from those fights, brought them into the octagon. Looked phenomenal. Her Muay Thai, her striking is fantastic. We'll see what's going to happen with her. Hopefully she can stay busy again this year. And she's gonna have a good couple years, good career, if she keeps up that pace. And she's one of the probably one of the early comers of this new wave of French fighters. For the longest time, MMA was banned in France. You could not do it. So all these other fighters could not even train in martial arts. They can train in martial arts, could not train or participate in mixed martial arts. But it seems like things are going to be changing over there, which is good. A lot of people, a lot of market. Europeans traditionally don't have the best reputation for, say, they're not as good as wrestlers as many Americans do, because wrestling is embedded in the history of martial arts in America. But she was looking good, and I know seeing a lot of the production outside of Paris, outside of France, and the rest of Europe, things are gonna be looking good. Obviously, I'm not gonna hold anything back. The Dagestans, the Russians, they're fucking fantastic. Which leads us to our next fight, was Umar Nurmagomedov, Khabib's younger brother. He got a performance of the night bonus. He was fantastic. He's younger. I can't remember how old is he. Not on Wikipedia. I think he's in the mid-20s. His striking is fantastic. Most people, they'll occasionally throw in a question mark kick. That was one of his main weapons. His kicking is fantastic. And then when it came down to it, he took him to the ground, that family tradition, that family style, and just wore him down, and then just got the submission, it was really cool because he got the submission he won rear naked choke. This happened on the exact date 9 years later from Khabib's first fight in the UFC, in which he also won by a rear naked choke. Khabib came into the ring with him. Umar's English is not that well. Khabib translated for him. It was a nice family moment. And then the rumor has it is Khabib's because the fight's over, they're gonna fly back today, and there's not really gonna be any overlap of Conor McGregor getting released from his quarantine in the hotel, because I guess McGregor showed up, late. He showed up when he wanted to, made his entrance, came in on a yacht, shirtless, Versace pants. He was doing his thing. But, we shouldn't be hearing any reports or rumors there's any altercations back and forth talking, because that doesn't look like there's going to be overlap. And then go back into the next fight. The next fight after that was Mason Jones, Mike Davis. Mason Jones, 2-division champ over in Cage Warriors over in Europe. He did end up losing the decision 29-28. But Mike Davis, my God, he is big for 155. I'm not sure if he has any difficulties with cutting weight, but he looked big. Those two back and forth, just striking. It was fantastic to see. That fight came out 7 a.m. That's a good way to wake up in the morning. They did. In my notes, I was taken during the fight. I did say that this could be fight of the night contender, and it did in fact win fight of the night. Fantastic fight. Good to see that. Mason Jones, even though he lost UFC debut, there's a lot of he's young. He's gonna have many more fights in the UFC. So keep an eye out for him. Fight after that, Francisco Figueiredo, Davidson's younger brother. Davidson obviously is the champion. Um, he looked good. He didn't look as impressive as I was expecting. As many of you guys know, Davidson has an issue with getting his weight down, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I haven't seen too much of his fights before his title fights, but I know he has a weight issue. I'm not sure what his cardio looks like. And his brother, I didn't hear any issues about his weight cut, but his cardio wasn't the best. But it was his first UFC fight. It will get better. Now he's in. Probably start getting him into the Performance Institute. I know Davidson's in Vegas every once in a while, so we're gonna see a lot of improvement on him. Let me see what I do. He hits hard. He was able to use his wrestling, take his opponent Jerome Rivera down, and then what bugged me is, some of the takedowns. He kind of just he get him down, kind of just lay on him, kind of just what he had to do to catch his breath. Sometimes go in the clinch, hold him. Obviously, clinch work. If your back's to the cage and you're trying to fight him off, you're gonna be using a lot more energy. And he kind of just held him there, used the minimal energy he could, but he was just trying to recover. Hopefully that siren's not too annoying. But about Jerome Rivera, there's a lot of potential in him. He's taller, he's lankier. He doesn't know exactly, or I'm not gonna say he doesn't know. His experience with using his length and his reach to his advantage wasn't there. It's pretty prominent to see that. I think, obviously with more experience, more time, he's going to be a pretty good young prospect, and hopefully everything pans out for him. We're going to skip a couple fights. Oh, yeah, skip a couple fights. Marcus Perez, he's on a 2-fight losing streak going into this fight. He didn't look like, he didn't show up. There's a pretty good chance he's going to get cut after this. Hopefully he finds that spark. Hopefully whatever next organization he gets into, he'll be okay. But, it is what it is. Ricky Simon was the last fight on the prelims. He just fucking out-wrestled the guy. He out-wrestled him, just worked, grinded, and, he eventually got the submission with the arm triangle. He looked fantastic. He has a couple fights. He lost a couple fights. He's only been in the UFC for 7 or 8 fights. His 2 losses are to Uriah Faber and Rob Font. Uriah Faber, obviously the legend. Font looked it's been fantastic. Even though Calvin did not look that good last week. The New England Cartel, they are young, scrappy. They're a pretty good, nice organization out of Boston, and Ruffon is definitely a prominent figure over there. So nothing. Ricky Simon. Yeah, obviously just the 2 losses, but he's looked really good so far in the UFC. Today he looked really good with submission. He just out-wrestled the guy. Not bad. I'm really impressed. And then let's go in. A lot of a couple decisions. There's Omari Akhmedov won by arm triangle. He looked pretty good. He was trying a bunch of different things. Tom Breezy didn't have it. It is what it is. Wasn't his day, but Omari looked good. A couple decisions. Veteran of the game, Roxanne Modafferi. If you guys saw her in The Ultimate Fighter, one of the nice people. Her nickname is the Nice Warrior. I believe that's the nickname. And if you follow her on Instagram, she teaches children. That's where a lot of her passion is. I'm interested to see what's gonna happen. She's ranked like 8 or 9, and then the winner, Viviane Arahu, Araho. My fucking girlfriend's gonna kill me because I cannot pronounce all these Brazilian names. But she's looked good in her last 2 fights. We'll see what's gonna happen with Roxanne. They were ranked like 8 and 9, I believe. Viviane fucking looks solid. So Roxanne went into the fight. Everyone knows she's a black belt. She's really good on the ground, really good at grappling, and she dramatically improved her striking. But Viviane was just picking her apart. Roxanne kept the pressure coming the whole time, but Viviane just eat some shots. But her head movement was fucking fantastic. She's gonna be a person. She's gonna be a tough fucking person to deal with in the division. And she had another win last year. A couple decisions. She lost to Jessica Ai, who's gonna fight on Saturday, which we'll talk about in a moment. That's her only loss. Jessica Ai is a tough fighter. Has a problem with her in the last couple fights with her weight. We'll see what happens. But Viviane's look really good. She's gonna move up in the rankings, and we'll see what happens with her next. Let's see. Isaac Villanueva, light heavyweight fight. He fucking KO'd his opponent. It's back and forth for like a round, and then about a minute into the second round, just got him with the right hand. Just dipped out. Fantastic punch. Next fight, the co-main event. Mounir Lazzez apparently is the next big thing to come out of the United Arab fucking come out of like Dubai, So I got my bad on that. He's supposed to be the next big thing. There's about 2,000 fans in the stadium when he was coming into the ring. He was cheering. Those fans were happy. They were cheering. And then he went up against Wally Alves, who he is the former winner of the Ultimate Fighter Brazil season 3. He went into the fight as the underdog. He had a year or two off because of injuries, and his striking looked really good. He eventually got to the point. The fight ended 2.5 minutes in. He got to the point where he did 3 straight shots right to like the kidney, right to the ribs. Don't know if anything was broken. Don't know what, but Mounir just kind of covered up his head. Just ate a couple extra shots, and the ref called it. Wasn't his night. A lot of good things supposed to be coming out of that kid. I'm excited to see that. But Wally looks really good, and it's gonna be good to see what happens. And, the main event is the one we're all waiting for. Was it's an important fight in the welterweight division. Michael Chiesa, Magny. What was gonna happen? Chiesa isn't having any issues cutting weight anymore. He's he's happy at 170. He's on a 3-fight winning streak, if I'm correct, and he looked fantastic. All 3 judges scored that fight 49-46. He just out wrestled him. Neil, if he could get up, was getting taken out immediately. But Chiesa, Neil is a veteran in the game. He has 20 fights in the UFC. We'll see what happens. We'll see what's gonna happen with him. Him and Steven go back and watch the film, and they're gonna figure out what went wrong, because Neil's wrestling was nowhere near as good as Michael's, and it showed. It showed. But big win by Michael. We're gonna move him up, and we'll see. Let's look at the rankings real quick. For Chiesa, the welterweight, he was 8. Neil Magny's 9. We'll see what happens, because he's not going to fight anyone lower than him again. Damian Maia, I believe, hasn't fought since the Gilbert Burns fight. Tyron Woodley. Did Damian Maia fight? Yeah, don't quote me on that. But Tyron Woodley has not fought since Gilbert Burns. Yeah, because Tyron Woodley lost the belts to Usman, didn't win a round, and then didn't win a round against Gilbert. So we'll see. Chiesa will probably do the same thing 2 times as the other 2 fighters. that's probably not the ideal matchup for him, but we'll see. Tyron's been kind of quiet. Um, Stephen Thompson's an interesting fight. You know, the UFC's been giving him a lot of younger fighters, kind of using him as like a stepping stone, but fucking Wonder Boy Thompson, he's destroying them. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets Chiesa. Wonder Boy's obviously a karate fighter, and Chiesa's more of a grappler. So we'll see. It'll be a really good fight for him. He just fought. Then above him, you got Jorge Masvidal. Masvidal supposedly Dana's trying to get him versus Colby. We'll see what happens with that. We'll see what happens because Dana's also teased the Ultimate Fighter coming back in the spring. I can't remember which month it was, March or April. Colby, Jorge would be fucking great coaches for the Ultimate Fighter. So we'll see what happens with that. Then above Jorge, you got Leon Edwards going to fight Kazmat Shamaya in March 13th. That's going to be a fucking hell of a fight. That fight was supposed to happen today, but Chimaev still has some issues recovering from COVID, something with his lungs. But, he's supposed to be ready. Leon Edwards is going to be a hell of a test. If he can get past Leon, the sky's the limit for him. But if he doesn't, then, he's going to get a couple of the lower ranked fighters in the welterweight division. And then obviously above Leon is going to be Gilbert, who is fighting Usman February 13th, pay-per-view, which we'll talk about later. And then above him, ranked number 1 is Colby. So we'll see what happens with that. Chiesa's looking good. Not a whole lot of movement in the welterweight division. Dustin and Conor were supposed to fight 170, and then once Khabib announced his retirement, they moved that fight down to 155. And we'll see. Speaking of that, Dustin, I believe, has signed an 8-fight deal with some of those fights are allegedly going to be in the welterweight division. So we'll see what's going to happen. If you look at the timeline of things, I can't imagine Khabib fighting this year. Khabib only fought in October. It's only been, like 2 months, 2.5 months. And then, April's when Ramadan starts. He never fights then. That goes April to like July or August. So usually only fights, September, October, November. So we're probably not going to see Khabib until the end of the year. If not, end of the year, beginning of next year. Can't remember I brought that up. So yeah, Dustin Conor, we'll see what happens. If Dustin wins, or if Conor wins, or they're clear, like number 1 contender. Let me double check the rankings for that. Yeah, okay, Gaethje's number 1. Gaethje's probably going to fight Charles Oliveira. That kind of seems like it's going to happen. Or he's... Yeah, we'll see. The lightweight division is stacked. It's really exciting. And, Dustin's number 2, Conor's number 4. And the winner of this fight is going to have... There's major implications on what's going to happen. Then the co-main event is going to be Dan Hooker and Michael Chandler. Obviously, Michael Chandler's not ranked. He just came in from Bellator. He hasn't fought in the UFC yet. He will be ranked soon. Dan Hooker's number 6. He fought Dustin last year. Hell of a fight. Let's see. Tony's number 5. Tony could be in the mix. Tony, Nate Diaz sounds interesting. Nate Diaz is not ranked, but Dana threw his name out there. We'll see what happens. They're trying to get Nate Diaz back in the ring. We'll see if it's just, we'll see. The Diaz family, they bring in a lot of pay-per-view money, a lot of viewers. So, we'll see what, a Tony and Nate, both of them are kind of towards the end of their career. I'm not saying they're going to retire after this fight, but I can't imagine them going 5 more fights, Tony's a monster. You never know. That's just kind of a prediction. But Tony and Nate, both of them scrappy. That'll be a bloody fight. That could work. I think Gaethje is number 1. Oliveira is number 3. That's a good fight too. maybe the winner of those two. Here's the thing: does the winner of Dustin Connor fight the winner of Chandler Hooker later in the year, or is we're gonna meet up with Justin or Oliveira? Who knows? And then you go after that. Rafael Dos Anjos was ranked number 7. I think he went from unranked to number 7 just because he beat Paul Felder, and Paul Felder's at 8. Rafael Dos Anjos is now won. I can't remember his last couple fights. Not had the winning records as he had. He's the former champ. And Paul Felder, he took that fight on 4 or 5 day notice. He was supposed to be the commentating team of the event. And then there's a COVID pullout, and he jumped in. He was training for a triathlon, so he was in shape. But it was more cardio, and he got out wrestled. So, the loss is the loss. It didn't really hurt him too much in the rankings. But I'm not crazy about Rafael before, ahead of that. And then before that fight, Paul Felder fought Dan Hooker in New Zealand, if I'm correct, or Australia. And it was close, in my opinion. Dan Hooker might have got the home crowd advantage. Got that little extra from the judges. It was a split, It is what it is, So who knows with that? Lightweight division stacked. So many implications in the line. Everyone's saying Connor's looking his best. He seems relaxed. He had, he most of the year off. He did training, a lot of charity work. We'll see. Dustin's looking good. He's been this is Connor's first fight at 155 in a couple years. I think since the Khabib fight. Because, what did he just fight fucking Cowboy, if I'm correct? Oh, jeez. This Wikipedia is long. Yeah, Connor's record is, he lost to Khabib. Here's the thing. He beat Eddie Alvarez for the championship. He lost. He stripped it because he went to go fight Floyd. He went to go train. That was 2016. Came back, fought Khabib, lost. That was 2018. Then, beginning of 2020, didn't fight in 2019. Fought once in 2020. He fought against Cerrone. Cerrone's a legendary, great fighter. He's a slow starter, got caught. Connor's a quick fighter. And from a lot of reports, people talking to him, if he's one of those fighters, if he doesn't respect you, he's going to go in there and try to just punch your head off. And that's exactly what happened. He destroyed Cerrone. And then he didn't fight again for a year. So we'll see what's going to happen. He's a little more relaxed. It's been a while since he got on 155. I think he was potentially feeling that 170 weight class. That's kind of what he was feeling. I'm not sure if because the way this fight came out is Connor called out Dustin's like, hey, let's do a charity fight. And Dustin's like, yeah, let's do, Dustin's a big charity guy. Connor's like, I will donate $500,000 to your charity. And then Dana White's like, okay. I see what you're doing. Let's get this fight in. So this fight's, obviously headlining this pay-per-view. Now, this fight was originally supposed to be a 170, so I'm not sure, why, Connor fought Donald at 170. Why was he trying to fight Dustin at 170? Was it because he didn't want to cut the weight? He's just getting older. It's just hard to cut the weight. But then once, Khabib allegedly retired, they're like, okay, that division's pretty much open again. A lot of competition. Let's see what we can do. So that's down to 155. We'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. If you guys aren't aware, Khabib finally did meet up with Dana, and they had their meeting, and Dana comes on TV and talks about the decision. And the decision was basically just like, Khabib was like, if I see something spectacular this weekend, maybe I'll come back. But here's the thing, as many people say, it's a worse decision than LeBron James' decision for when he went down to South Beach. But we'll see what's gonna happen. Could be probably not gonna fight until at least fall or winter next year, or fall this year, winter next year. So who knows? You know. Let's go below that. We got the women's flyweight. We got Jessica I and Joanne Calderwood. Jessica I. Sorry, I got the pup here. Pup just gave me a little lick. Jessica I's missed her last two fights. Or she's 1-2 in her last two fights. Both of them, she missed weight. Before that, she fought Valentina Shevchenko for the women's flyweight title. She got knocked out, so we'll see. We'll see if she makes weight. It's the most frustrating thing for a lot of people. And then Calderwood has been okay in the UFC. It's about a 500, give or take. But she has an extensive kickboxing record, and you've seen with a lot of previous fights, especially Marlon Moraes a couple weeks ago, what a knockout can do. Is she gonna be more private into a knockout? And then because Calderwood has great striking skills, so we'll see what happens. Let's start off the pay-per-view. The Brazilian matchup, right? Yeah, Brazilian matchup. Marina Rodriguez versus Amanda Ribas. And Ribas looked fantastic in the last fight against Paige Van Zandt. I foolishly thought Van Zandt was going to win. She had a lot of time off from the surgery. She was looking, she going to look good. I had no idea what the background of Ribas. Apparently, her dad's a martial artist, had her training in some sort of martial arts since she was a child. She's the favorite for this fight, if I'm correct. And I like her, got a good personality. She's been training over at ATT down in Coconut Creek. She's been training with Amanda Nunes, Paige Van Zandt's over there preparing for bare knuckle. But, she's been training with the champ. And then you got, just the killers at ATT. Dustin's down there. You got Jorge's down there. There's so many people. Her jiu-jitsu is her background. She's always going to have that. But getting that extra striking help, it's going to do her well. So, my money's on her. We'll see what happens. Juliana Pena's back. She's fighting Sarah McMahon. McMahon's got a good wrestling pedigree. Pena's got a... Is she the one coming off injuries? Who am I thinking about? When was her last fight? Oh, no, she fought... I'm thinking of someone else. But the last fight was against Germaine Durandamy. She lost by guillotine choke. Germaine's just fucking a monster in there, so we'll see what happens. That one's going to be a good fight. And then outside of that, Khalil Roundtree is fighting the prelims as well. He always puts on a good show. You got Andrew Sanchez, the Ultimate Fighter winner. He's fighting. He won his last fight. Yeah, he won his last fight by knockout last year. And he lost to Martin Vitale before that in 2019. Vitale's a good up-and-comer. He looks like he's fighting once, maybe twice a year. We'll see what happens, He's not the most active, but hell of a fighter. We'll see what happens. And then going into the week after that, I'll break that down more a little later. Alistair Overeem, Alexander Volkov. That one's going to be a good fight. Heavyweight's always been on good fights. Corey Sandhagen's back for Frank Yeager. Monster fight. Monster. Sandhagen's on a roll. I think he won his last fight by knockout, and then he lost the one before that to Aljamain Sterling. Obviously, Aljamain's fighting for the title. So, that's going to be great. Frank Yeager always puts on a great show. Super excited for that. Then let me just kind of just check in on a couple things. I'll kind of just go over anything I got saved. Yes. We got some fight announcements. We have a packed March 6th card that I'm super excited. I might honestly go to Vegas for that card. I'm really looking forward to it. But, before that, you got 258. They just announced that officially. You have Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns fighting for the title. Announced bouts, you have Uriah Hall, Chris Weidman. That one's going to be a fight. Uriah pretty much retired. Anderson Silva, he looked pretty good. Weidman's always strong, always as good. Gastelum's back on that card. That one's going to be a good one. After that, you got a fight card. Curtis Blades, Derek Lewis. We'll see what's happening. I know Derek Lewis has been looking strong along with Curtis Blades. But Derek Lewis has been, over the past year, I'd say, doing what he needs to do to make his body not so much a traditional heavyweight body, but, he doesn't want to cut weight to get to 265. He's been trying to drop it down to about 240, 245. I'm excited for him. This is going to be a good fucking fight. Cannot wait for that one. After that, you got Dominic Reyes fighting. They're probably not some more shit on that one. Then you got 259. Then you guys already know my opinion. I don't think Jan Blachowicz should be fighting Israel, but I feel like that fight, he should be fighting Glover Teixeira. It is what it is. That fight's happening. That's going to headline it. Below that, you got Amanda Nunes fighting against Megan Anderson. This fight was supposed to happen last year. Got pushed back a little bit. Excited for that fight. If Amanda wins that fight, they're going to more than likely close out the featherweight division. We'll see what happens with that. That's not news to you guys. But Petr Yang, Aljamain Sterling, that got officially announced. That's a good fucking fight. We'll see what happens with that. Looking forward to that. We'll break that down later. Dominic Cruz is also fighting on that card. Tim Elliott. A lot of good fights on that one. Let's see. Oh, big news. UFC anti-doping policy change. Their stance on marijuana. It is no longer, positive test, no longer a violation, no longer a no contest. But apparently you still got to go through the different bullshit between the athletic commissions. So, it's a small step forward. March 13th, which we did not talk about. We only got to March 6th. But, they announced Leon Edwards, Khamzat Chimaev. That's going to be an amazing fight. But they're also looking at Cyril Gane, Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Gane just had a big win back in December, if I'm correct, against JDS. Rozenstruik's been looking pretty good too, although he did have that devastating loss to Francis a few months ago. Dan Ige, Ryan Hall. Nobody wants to fight Ryan Hall. He's a leg lock master. Dan Ige's had a tough couple fights. They're just throwing him monsters. He's new in the UFC. He came in from the Dana White's Contender Series. Last fight, he lost to Calvin Kattar. But he's also the fight Edson Barboza on a split decision. Barboza's no easy path, He's a monster. So that's going to be, March 13th is going to be a good card. And that's probably about it, As for me, I'm back in the gym, working out again. That because I opened up, we're outside. It's good, went out today, got the California heat, working out. Still not back at doing jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai. Hopefully we'll be back doing that soon. I apologize again. I wasn't able to get the chance to watch last week's fight card. I'm also going to start doing more work on the Instagram, on the Twitter. Start giving live updates. Haven't had a chance to get around, getting the Photoshop ready. Make sure I get all those photos ready for each card. But, it is what it is. It's life. We're getting this thing started. I'm pretty sure I have the website up and going. I'm going to check that later. As for right about now, that's about it, guys. Follow us, MMA Now Podcast. It's going to be MMANowPodcast.com. I'm Nico Pierce. I'm actually going to put my name right here. Did not do that last time. If you're listening, we're going to try to keep this going. I'm going to try to start getting some more interviews, do more videos. We're going to start doing more content. It's just, kickstarting everything off in the beginning. But that's about it. Gotta get dinner around. Great fights today. We're going to have a great fucking 2021. That's it. I'll keep you guys updated. We'll chat about this later. All right. See you guys.